Hello and welcome to Thursday night on all of the PEG channels. I am JM, your host for Savage Universe, and with me tonight I have Maria of Goblin Society Games. Welcome.
Hello, thank you for having me.
Thank you for coming on the show. I'm really excited to talk with you. Why don't you start off by telling us a little bit about who you are and what Goblin Society Games is?
Sure. As you said, my name is Maria. I am one of 3 founding members of Goblin Society Games. Goblin Society Games is a independent TTRPG production company, kind of publisher. We kind of have a nebulous because we try to bridge the gap between board games and TTRPGs. And we are roughly 3 years in our infancy, so we are definitely getting our feet under us and getting going as quickly as we feasibly can. But the 3 of us have been working really hard to make the things that we want to see in these spaces. Primarily, we've been focused on tabletop RPG supplements and settings, and we're starting to dip our toes into board game development and are really excited to do all of those things.
Awesome. Board game development is its own unique beast.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
I've just posted a link to your website. Go check it out. But we're here to talk about Savage Worlds, and you guys have some Savage Worlds products out. But first of all, tell me about your experience with Savage Worlds. How'd you get into it? What do you love about it?
Yeah. So I started playing Savage Worlds in 2010, freshly-ish in college. And it was actually my gateway into tabletop RPGs. My now spouse, but at the time, good friend, James, one of the other co-founders of Goblin Society Games, introduced me and a bunch of his friends to Savage Worlds through a steampunk adjacent setting that somebody had made, like a homebrew setting. And it was absolutely incredible. Not only the setting, but like being introduced to TTRPGs and through a system where your character customization is so robust and in your own hands. I'm a glutton for punishment when it comes to adding as many hindrances as physically possible, because it's so tasty and easy to make a character and be able to play into those character flaws and make interesting choices and then also be rewarded with like a couple of good things as well, not just all bad things.
Right.
So I started playing in 2010 and have played off and on. I ran a short campaign, which was actually the birth of the concept of Helbine back in 2019, I think.
Awesome.
And have been playing a little bit off and on since then until quite recently, where we were needing to really play a lot of it to really remember the concepts and everything as we were writing some stuff for it.
Yeah. Well, let's talk about that. And yes, Suburbanite, first of all, great name. Second of all, what a great gateway into TTRPGs. I mean, you're definitely 1 or 2 standard deviations out from normal, because most people's first introduction to gaming is really Dungeons and Dragons. So go ahead.
Well, to talk on that, so there was like 2 options when it came to the TTRPG of the season at that time. It was Savage Worlds, which I'm really glad I went to, because the other option was D&D 3.5. And and so I wasn't excited about all of the crunchiness and the mathness that 3.5 genre specifically had. It's great for people who like it. It's just not my cup of tea. So there was, I almost was a D&D gateway into TTRPGs, but I'm actually really glad that Savage Worlds was the gateway in, because it tapped into a lot of what I was studying at the time, which was theater, and it allowed me to be a little bit less crunchy rules and more be a character for a hot second.
So how do you feel like, I mean, I assume you've played Dungeons and Dragons now.
Oh, yeah.
How do you feel like, do you feel like starting with Savage Worlds may have colored your your view of the games?
Maybe a little bit. It's kind of hard to say because it is a different kind of system. They do manifest themselves differently. My where I really started playing D&D was when they introduced D&D Next, which was their introduction into pre-D&D 5th edition.
Right.
That's when I first started playing D&D. And 5th edition is basically the only Dungeons and Dragons I've really played.
Awesome.
And I think because I came in at 5th edition, which is a lot more role play forward than previous editions, it wasn't that hard of a transition, except that I'm using a D20 pretty much exclusively.
As opposed to all of your dice.
As opposed to everything else. Yeah. My D12 never gets touched when I play D&D.
There's a great, I think it was the guys who do Giants in the Playground. They do the stick figure comic, whose my brain is, all right, it's not, it'll come back to me in about 10 minutes and I'll be like, it's this. They have a t-shirt with all of the other dice pointing at the D12, and it says your D12 cries itself to sleep at night. And like,
no, it's so true though.
Yeah.
It's so true.
All right. So you have put together Order of the Stick. Thank you.
That's what it is.
That's right. And Grom, good to see you. I feel like I've seen you all day, buddy. That's great. So let's talk about Helbine. Give us the overview. Tell us what it is. Yeah, it's right there.
This
I'm going to put a
sexy
link.
little book right here.
It is.
It's so nice. I want one day in a perfect world to get like a matte finish, like a hardcover, super sexy, soft touch matte. But right now, this is what we got. So this is what you're going to get. And it's great and it's lovely. So this is our first setting book that we've ever made. And it is a sci-fi setting for Savage Worlds. We were very fortunate to be accepted into the ACE license program. So we got a shiny little doodad down there that they like it.
Yeah.
They like it. They like it, y'all. But Helbine is, I like to coin it as a gritty sci-fi world. And when I say gritty, I mean, think more along the lines of Cowboy Bebop, of Firefly, a little bit of cyberpunk like 2077, Treasure Planet, kind of the still slightly fantastical, but not quite Star Wars or Star Trek or anything of that nature. It's a little more gritty, a little more not quite dark, but a little more like down to earth. You know, like if I was up in space. Kind of dealing. That's how this world is. Helbine, as like this beautiful map shows, is centers around the planet Helbine and its 6 surrounding moons and the literal space in between and around them. On the planet Helbine itself, you have a giant megaopolis city called Banda City, where you have your factions trying to fight over control of various things. You have the Interstellar Coalition, which we kind of coined as a scientific cult a little bit, mashing together science and like religion type or the dogma kind of ideas behind a lot of different kinds of religions. So there's a lot of technology involved with the Interstellar Coalition, a lot of turning yourself into androids with like augmentations and such, and trying to unify, because if everybody is the same, then there won't be any conflict, right? That's the theory.
Right.
You have the Corton Corporation, which is if you took a business person and made them the wealthiest person in the entire solar system, and then now they're also in charge of all of the fuel production. That's the Corton Corporation. They are manufacturers of everything from guns to ships to armies, and they are in control of the one giant spaceport on the city. And you also have the Phantom Marauders, who are space pirates.
Yeah.
They deal with a lot of interfuge. That's not it. Intrigue. Behind the scenes subterfuge. That's what it was. We smushed them together. A lot of subterfuge.
I like interfuge.
Interfuging things together.
That's right.
And also they have a lot of control of the space above Helbine itself. So if you really want to get anywhere without getting blasted, you probably should bring some extra money with you if you're going to leave the planet. Outside of that, there's a secret fourth faction that's kind of not quite a faction called the Mold. And it's just that the phrasing is just like molds like you would find on overripe fruits. But this kind of mold takes on different forms. It's a little hard to see because my white balance is a little funky dunky, but it's plant-like life forms that are they grow and they change into different shapes depending on the different needs that they have. This one's full of teeth and grabby arms. But
terrifying.
Yeah, they kind of work. They are a hive mind entity that exists on pretty much every one of the moons and of the main planet itself. There are some secrets in here about what the mold actually is, and what it's actually doing on these planets and everything, how it interacts specifically with the different factions, with the different moons and everything. But they're just little guys doing their little things all over the place. But those are the big players besides the player characters that would be dancing around in this setting. The 6 different moons that are around Helbine have their own different wonderful things as well. Each of the moons has a day-night cycle. And besides it being dark or light, it also drastically changes the temperature and the flora and fauna that are available. So in the book itself, we have 2-page spreads that show you what it is like in the daytime and what it's like at night. This one's a little harder because it's like wet and cold, but then it's like really cold. Let me see if I can find one that's a little bit more. Oh, there's one exception, which I'll save for the end. But like this one is... Gotta remember the names of my planet. This one's the moon of Naya, which is a swamp planet. So you have your big swamps, and then at night, all of this phosphorescent, bioluminescent plant life and creatures come out. But my favorite moon is Yorg because it's just got this weird vibe. It's got these really weird obelisks. It's got ruins on it. There's also secrets in here about what exactly these are. But if you just stumble across them, they're just giant things floating in the sky. And the atmosphere is weird here. So radio signal doesn't go anywhere. There's a lot of strange little secrets hidden in here. There's literally an entire appendix of secrets.
Oh, I cannot wait.
GM eyes only.
Yeah. So Buff Dragon says, is he hearing a little bit of The Expanse in there?
Just a smidge. I really enjoy The Expanse because of the realism in the science, like the science behind it.
Yeah.
With the proto-molecule is absolutely not quite something that exists. Probably.
Hopefully.
Hopefully.
Yeah.
But yeah, there's definitely a little bit of The Expanse flavoring in amongst the weirdness, the strange, unexplained, why is there this giant floating obelisk on one of the moons, but not on any of the other moons kind of feeling. Mm-hmm.
Well, Suburbanite brought up, I agree with Suburbanite. They said, I've never heard of the setting before hopping in here and I'm sold. Are there any plans to offer Foundry support?
That is a fantastic question. So right now the book is available on our drive-through RPG store front. You can get physical or PDF copies. I will have to look into how to get it ported to Foundry. I know that because we're going through drive-through RPG, it would be pretty easy, I say without doing a ton of research, to get it onto Roll20 because they are partnered together.
Right.
But I will definitely keep people up to date on what our VTT plans are. If you follow Goblin Society Games on most socials, either at Society Goblin or at Goblin Society Games, if it wasn't already taken, we try to keep up to date as much as we can. We are 3 people trying to do the tasks of many, many people. So do be patient if your questions aren't answered right away. We are trying our best, I promise. But you can always email us as well, contact at goblinsociety.com. And all of this is also available on our website as well, goblinsocietygames.com.
Um, so let me ask. You were saying that back in 2019, you started coming back into this, playing Savage Worlds again. What was sort of the creative process for you on bringing this? I mean, I love all of the touchstones. I love everything that you're saying here. What was your creative process in kind of bringing this idea first to a game table and then to production? And why did you choose Savage Worlds?
The very, very short answer is peer pressure. So I was part of a tabletop group, online group, that we were always brainstorming, like, what thing do we want to do next? It was all of us wanting to like run little short shows, essentially actual play shows.
Okay.
And I pitched the concept out just on a whim because I was thinking about it. I was like, hey, who would be interested in playing a Treasure Planet inspired game? No thought of what the game was going to be. No idea. I was just like, I like this vibe. I just rewatched this movie the 1700th time. I want to run a game. And got an overwhelming response of people who were like, this is the best idea ever. And I said, oh, well, I guess I should make that then. And because I never do anything simply, I decided, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to make it all myself. I'm going to make the whole world myself. And then we're going to do it and it's going to be great. And I'm very grateful for my spouse, James, who helps me in the creative process, because otherwise I would still be sitting here without a book or an idea or anything like that. But besides being a person who says, well, now I have to do the thing, it was a lot of throwing things at the wall to see what fits. I know that the original Helbine, it was a short, like 6-episode miniseries. I have it on YouTube. I'll find it while I explain everything.
Oh yeah, send it over. We'll put it in the chat.
But if you watch it, know that there's a lot that's changed. A lot of things have changed. It is not canon, but it's where the origins started. There it is. So there it is. We'll put it in here.
I just put the link to your drive-through store.
Awesome.
In there. And then, I'll put the link to this.
Yeah. So it was, 6 episodes. And it was my first time running a game online, not only online, but in front of you, like the first time running an actual play game, all of these things. So it's little baby me, with my wonderful inexperience at doing these things, but you can at least see the origins of like the thoughts of everything. And then from there, it really just kind of sat in a little warming pot in the back of my head for a while, until we were finishing up our first big project with GSG, which is our Mercreg's Compendium of Curios, which is 300 magic items for D&D 5th edition. And we were starting to think, okay, what's our next big thing? What is the next thing that we want to do? And I remembered, hang on, what if we did something vastly different? What if we aren't just known as the D&D people? What if we're known as the people who make a lot of cool things, and one of them is Savage Worlds? And you mentioned before, like, why I chose to go with Savage Worlds for the initial run of it, and why we continued to go with Savage Worlds when we were making it. It's because there's not a lot of public, like, Savage Worlds actual plays, or where we were seeing it. We were seeing, like, there are a lot of people who are making really cool things for Savage Worlds, and we wanted to see more of it. Is really what it is. We were super passionate about it when we were in college. Playing it again and explaining how to play it to new players was really exciting for me. And being able to replay it now in the last couple of years as we were working on this was so incredibly satisfying. And I couldn't imagine this system or this setting working with any other system.
Awesome.
Now you can if you want to. You
Right.
can
That's the way role-playing games work.
Exactly. But it just fits so well with what we wanted to try to incorporate, including one of the custom things that we made for specifically Helbine. And James did a fantastic job. He did 90% of the writing himself for the book. And our artist is fantastic and is linked. All of our artists are linked on our website, by the way.
Very cool.
But one of the cool things that he did mechanically is he introduced faction leveling up while your players are leveling up. So you as a GM can, when your players advance, when they start to get stronger, each of the factions have their own troops and whatever kind of things, adversaries, and those adversaries get a boost that of your choice that you can then weave into the narrative flow of why are they leveling up this way? Why does the Quarton Corporation all of a sudden have more firepower? Well, it's because the players infiltrated a Quarton Corporation warehouse and now they're beefing up their things so that when they encounter the players again, they're going to be really ready for them.
Oh, that's very cool.
Yeah, and things of that nature as well. And for all 4 factions, so even the mold has its own customization in that aspect. And on top of that, we really wanted to try to include as much as we could without having to rely on the already made sci-fi compendium that Savage Worlds has made. And it's a fantastic book. And I know that there's still work on getting a new release of the sci-fi compendium. So we were in that weird in-between space, and we didn't want to fully rely on the stats for the old one. So we thought, why don't we kind of make some of our own? So when you go to make troops or an encounter or something like that for each of the factions, you have customizable options. So we have 2 variations that you can choose between. So you can have like a Phantom Marauder Assassin, or the same basic skill stat block with different skills could turn the assassin into a like a con artist or something
cool.
something similar to that. A mech suit driver versus a speed racer. That kind of idea. And all of those stats are color coded in the book itself, so you can quickly see at a glance if I want this specific one, you can pull out all the stats that you need, or if I want this specific one, you can pull out the stats you need. It's really, really cool. James did a great job making it.
Awesome. Well, I mean, you just keep selling me more and more on this.
It's rad. It
is.
Cool.
I've been looking at I've been developing some of my own faction rules, and now I'm like, well, those. Now I definitely have to pick up a copy because that's just inspiration. But you don't just have the book out. Like one of the things that really grabbed me was the cards. Like you put out your own action deck.
We have 2 kinds of action deck.
And
well, they're the same
tarot,
deck.
which I love.
Yes, I am a big tarot fan. I love the size of them. I love the fact that you can fit more art on them. But yeah, if you're here in the chat, you're probably familiar with Savage Worlds. In case you're not, Savage Worlds does initiative differently than like D&D or I'll just use D&D. D&D, you roll for your initiative. This one, you draw cards, just from like a standard playing cards. And we were like, that's great. And I love that initiative system. But what if perchance somebody saw our book and they're like, this is really cool. And they said, I want to have playing cards that match the vibe. Well, guess what? You can't. We have standard playing card size. Like Jan was saying, we have tarot size, the big ones, and all of them feature art that is inside of our book.
That's fantastic.
So they're literally the same art is on the standard deck and on the playing card or the tarot size deck. But the tarot size deck, you get more art on it. It looks really cool. But you can see like more high res pictures. I think that you actually posted a newsletter on Savage Universe that shows some really nice pictures.
Yeah, go over to Savage Universe, scroll down. It's still in the featured articles. Check it out. There's great pictures of. Well, actually, let me just see. Let me see if I know how technology works.
This little Joker is one of my favorite. It features one of the mold, and it's teeny tiny. And I wish my camera wasn't so incredibly like white balanced because it's tiny. It's teeny tiny little guy. Let me see if I can do. There you go. There he is. Look at this little guy. This is one of the little variants of the mold, and we have two of them. They're both Jokers, and there's
the cards,
and I love them. Yeah. So that's we also have posters as well. Now they are also through Drive-Thru RPG. So as an aside, they do come folded in half. However, they do unfold very easily, and we haven't had any issues getting most of the creasing out. But if you want a big version of some of the art, it's really, really pretty.
There's that thing with just a bunch of limbs and teeth.
Yeah. So let me put this over here. Let me tell you what that is actually. They all have names, so that they're easy to remember. So that one, the one with the mouth, is called aptly the Mold Horror.
Yeah, no, that fits.
Yeah. I'll give you a little excerpt from the pages here. The Mold Horror is aptly named. Shaped like a massive worm, it wriggles across the ground slowly and harmlessly. When a threat appears, however, it rears back and opens its body down the middle, revealing an interior cavity. The cavity is lined with hard feelers, which is definitely not teeth, which it uses to grab the target and pull it inside, where it is smothered and crushed.
Awesome.
And then there's stats about how you can smother and crush your player characters if you want.
Right. That's the best part of Monster Stats. I was running the horror at Headstone Hill on my stream, and I, as every bad GM does, forgot to read the stat block for one of the creatures I was using. It mentioned, it's got a blood or a prairie tick. I was like, okay, so it's just a big tick. It's it's an animal companion. And the first time it goes to attack somebody, I'm like, oh no. They're like, what? I'm like, it forces itself into your mouth and down your throat. And
it's
that's like earlier.
That's 100% like the oh no, now I can't. The Mummy with the little beetles.
Yes, the little scarabs.
Delicious, delightful. I hate it and I love it.
That's right. All right, so what's the adorable little mold on the Joker?
So the teeny tiny little guy is the small version of the Harbinger, which is the big Joker. Okay. So the Harbinger is a lumbering creature who staggers around on thin leg-like spines of calcified spores, while its exceptionally tall body teeters precariously. At the peak of this mold spire is a pinkish pulsating pustule, which leaves a faint trail of reddish spores as it moves. So the Harbinger, how it kind of works mechanically is it sends out spores around, and it can cause confusion and all of these things, mechanically speaking. But the little tiny one is basically just the Harbinger, just a mini version. Just like waddles around, kind of like a little head crab from Half-Life 2.
Yeah.
But just a little guy who's just like puffing little puffs of spores. If you see a small one, it's not that bad. And the big Harbinger isn't too bad either. It's just the fact that the Harbingers call for backup. And it's the big things that you don't really want to mess with, like the horror or like the Hulk. He's got big friendly hands to give you a big friendly smash or hug. These things hurt real bad.
Yeah. See you later, Suburbanite. So Suburbanite says they had to leave, but same with Grom, but they just picked up the book on Drive-Thru.
Yay, thank you. Oh my goodness. Please let us know. You can always feel free to email us. Our email's on our website, but we also have a contact form on there as well. But please let us know what you think. We love getting constructive feedback, especially because I want to keep expanding this world with, campaign settings and all these sorts
Yeah.
of, ambitious things, of course. But yeah, definitely let us know, tag us on socials, all of those things. We'd love to see pictures, the whole rigmarole.
Very cool. Well, I know we're about half hour into this, and I just wanted to say, like, if people wanted to follow you, I know you've mentioned the Goblin Society socials. I know you stream as well. Do you want to talk about that?
Yeah. So on top of being one of 3 founding members of Goblin Society Games, and doing the myriad of things that I do with that, I also am a variety streamer on Twitch, and an actual play performer. So I stream 3 to 4 times a week on my own channel at Happy Capster, where I do a lot of video games. I hosted 3 seasons of a talk show on there as well.
Oh, very cool.
It's also on my YouTube channel, same name. I'm Happy Capster everywhere if you like just this face. But on top of that, I'm a cast member on the channel Waffles Maple Syrup, where we're in our 2nd season of a Pathfinder 2E campaign called Outcast and Outclassed. And it's delightful. And it's tonight. We're playing tonight. So you can, if you want to sit around and hang out and see more of this face, you can come and hang out there later tonight at 8 p.m. Eastern time.
Can you send me the link and I'll post it out
100%.
Yeah.
100%.
What are you playing in Pathfinder 2? I really enjoy Pathfinder 2. So
yeah. So this show is my first introduction to Pathfinder 2nd edition. I played 1 session of Pathfinder 1st edition and did not enjoy it. So I was hesitant
going back to that 3.5 con.
Exactly. So I was hesitant to try 2nd edition, but Syrup, who is the one who GMs for us, did a fantastic job explaining it. Waffles of the Waffles Maple Syrup is also a fantastic player, knows the rule system really, really well. And they both made it easy to jump into. Now, do I still understand all the rules? No. But I am playing...
anyone does. There's a lot of rules.
Yeah, there's a ton. And now they have the whole remastered everything, so you get to learn even more new rules. But I am playing a catfolk witch.
Excellent.
And they're from their origin is from a traveling circus. We're playing through the Strength of Thousands campaign series. So we're on book 2 right now, and things are just starting to get like really interesting. And it's really the whole crew, the whole rest of the cast is fantastic. We all care about each other so much. We're all friends, like super good friends now. And I think it helps to make a story where everybody's really close friends when you're all also really close friends.
It helps. It helps.
Yeah.
Yeah. So if I'm remembering correctly, is the Strength of Thousands, is that the magical school?
Yeah. It at least starts in a magical school. We're still technically in a magical school. Eventually we'll stop being in a magical school. But it's definitely, we've taken, this is we just passed our 2nd year of this campaign, and we're on book 2. So it took us just over a year to finish book 1. We're level 5 now. We like to really dive into the character interactions and how our characters are interacting with the world. So it's taking us a little longer to get through the books than a lot of people.
That's fine.
But it's super, super fun. It's really enjoyable. It's also all on YouTube and Spotify as well. So super easy to access and digest at your own pace. And you don't have to watch us live, but if you do, it's super rad. Awesome. You can see us be super silly.
I love that Paizo tends to have this, they tend to do two adventure paths a year on average. And one of them is like very traditional, like fantasy adventure. And then the other one is like, hey, we're gonna do something cool. I ran the Extinction Curse, which is about being in a traveling circus. And
yes.
and then you save the world because eventually
'Cause of course.
that's where they all end up. And I'm like,
Yeah.
I'll run that one. Like,
Yeah.
Buff Dragon asks, have you ever played Savage Worlds Pathfinder?
No, I have not. And I forgot that it existed for a hot second until I saw it. I saw it in one of my my local game stores, and it was right after I'd started playing Pathfinder Second Edition. I was like, wait a minute, I recognize that book. Why does it say Savage Worlds on it? And then I remembered.
John Doom, who's in the chat, is actually GMing, running us through Savage Pathfinder: Rise of the Rune Lords, and it has been. I'm playing a fighter, and I love fighters, sword and board fighters. That I'll bring a whole new personality to them, but I just love playing sword and board fighters. And what's interesting is they're possibly the most complex mechanically. So it's the opposite of what you would expect from like an actual like D20 fighter.
It's not walk up, hit good, walk away.
Yeah.
Definitely.
Their abilities, like they can just pick any combat edge they want, and they have it for the next 5 rounds. So I actually have to like know all of the combat edges and go, which one is like useful in this moment. So.
Yeah. We actually have a one of the other players is playing an android Magus, but things are popping up in the story that very heavily suggest that there is some Rune Lord shenanigans happening with them, which is really interesting. And it's just a little mystery that I get to just chew on for a while.
Awesome. I also like that you described it as Rune Lord shenanigans. So John, prepare for me to steal that and just be like, I think this is more Rune Lord shenanigans.
Some more shenanigans I'm smelling here.
That's right. Well, thank you so much for joining us on this. I want to make sure you've got plenty of time to get to your stream. Go check out the stream. Go check out Goblin Society Games. Go check out Helbine, because I'm going to go pick up a copy as well as soon as we're done here, because I want to see this book. I want to see it though in person. You showing it off, like
it's
the
great.
2-page spreads look great,
but like it's great seeing it like here and seeing, because we have some spreads that are on our website as well, but like being able to really like open it up and see, oh, that's where the Interstellar Coalition is, that giant eye looking thing. That's great. And not seeing it through like a super off white balanced camera. It's really good. The camera does not do the art justice. It's so pretty. It's so good.
Well, again, thank you so much for coming on Savage Universe. This has just been a delight.
Thank you. I really appreciate that you had me on here. It was super fun.
My pleasure. We'll be back next week with more Savage Universe. We're talking with, I believe, the Harbinger's actual play. And if I'm remembering correctly, Megan, I have to log back in. So all of my notes, I've been locked out of my notes and I can't re-log into them while I'm on the stream. We'll be back then. And then prepare for the Swag Awards. We will be back with the Swag Awards. Landauer and I will be hosting them in February. So again, thanks. Go check out all of this great content. Until next time, go out and play some Savage Worlds and may all your dice ace. Have a good night, everybody.